There are television presenters we watch for their charm, others for their wit, and some for the sheer warmth they bring into our living rooms. But very few manage to capture all three, and then some. Ben Shephard has always been one of those rare figures, a man of kindness, a man of composure, a man of steady brilliance on screen. Yet behind the smile, behind the cheerful laughter that fills morning television, lies a story very few know. A story that would test not just Ben, but also his beloved wife, Annie. A story that once revealed left fans shaken and emotional, and yet more deeply connected to him than ever before. Because sometimes the brightest lights we see on screen hide the deepest battles fought in silence. And sometimes it is not the celebrity who saves the day, but the loved one at their side. This is the story of Ben and Annie Shephard. For decades, Ben Shephard has been a staple of British television. From GMTV to Good Morning Britain, from the Chase spin-offs to Tipping Point, he has been the face that Britain wakes up to with a smile. Charming, warm, funny, and endlessly professional, his presence has always felt reassuring. And then there is Annie. Unlike many celebrity spouses, Annie has always chosen a quieter life. No flashing cameras, no magazine covers, no interviews. Her role has been silent but powerful, the anchor that keeps Ben grounded, the calm presence that gives him strength. To many, they were the perfect couple. University sweethearts who grew into adulthood together. Parents who balanced career and family without scandal or spectacle. And friends who never failed to support each other. But, as we all know, perfection is a myth. It began with small signs. Fans noticed Ben looked tired, drawn, and at times distracted. On screen, he was still professional, but his natural spark seemed muted. In interviews, he would occasionally mention long nights or family challenges, but always with a smile, always with deflection. Behind closed doors, Annie was beginning to see the toll. Late hours, endless commitments, and the burden of constantly being on. But it wasn't just exhaustion from work. There was something else. Ben began experiencing bouts of pain, sudden, unexpected, and increasingly severe. At first, he brushed it aside. Aches and pains are part of life, especially when juggling work, family, and staying fit. But Annie wasn't convinced. She urged him to slow down, to see a doctor, to take time off. And Ben, he did what so many men do. He smiled, he reassured, and he carried on. Until he couldn't. It was late. The house was quiet. Annie was upstairs, the children asleep. Ben had stayed downstairs to finish some notes for Tipping Point. Then she heard it. A crash, a cry. She ran down to find Ben doubled over, pale, clutching his side in agony. In that moment, everything changed. Annie, usually calm and measured, found herself trembling as she dialed emergency services. Her voice shook, her words rushed. The paramedics arrived quickly. Ben was rushed to hospital. And Annie sat in the waiting room, holding back tears, the weight of fear pressing down on her chest. For all her years of quiet strength, she had never felt so helpless. After hours of tests and consultations, the truth came. Ben was suffering from a serious but manageable health condition, one that had likely been developing quietly for years. The doctors explained that his constant schedule, his refusal to slow down, had only made things worse. And for Annie, the words cut deep. Because she had seen it coming. She had begged him to rest. She had whispered her worries late at night. But now, it was no longer whispers. It was reality. The man loved by millions, the man she had built her life with, was vulnerable. And everything, their marriage, their family, their future, suddenly felt fragile. There is a particular kind of strength in being the partner of someone in the public eye. You celebrate their successes quietly, you absorb their stress silently, and you stand in the background while the world applauds them. But when Annie was told the severity of Ben's condition, she broke. For the first time, she wept openly, not the quiet tears of worry, but the deep sobs of a woman terrified of losing her husband. Those tears, though, were not of weakness, they were of love, because Annie knew she had a choice, to let fear consume her, or to fight alongside him. And Annie Shephard chose to fight. What followed was months of treatment, recovery, and adjustment. Ben, ever the professional, continued working when he could, smiling for the cameras, making contestants laugh, and hiding his pain behind witty remarks. But Annie knew the truth. She saw the nights he couldn't sleep. She heard the groans when he shifted in bed. She watched as he pushed himself harder than he should, determined not to let fans down. And quietly, Annie became his protector. She managed his diet. She enforced rest. She drove him to appointments. She became the wall between Ben and the world, allowing him to heal without losing himself. It was not glamorous. It was not celebrated, but it was love in its purest form. For fans, nothing seemed amiss. Ben was still the charming presenter they adored. But what they didn't see were the moments of doubt, the questions whispered late at night. Am I strong enough to keep doing this? What if I let everyone down? What if this gets worse? And Annie would hold his hand, look into his eyes, and remind him, you are not just Ben Shephard the presenter. You are Ben Shephard, my husband, the father of our children, the man we love. That is what matters. Her words became his strength. Her quiet determination became his shield. And slowly, with Annie by his side, Ben began to recover. When Ben eventually spoke publicly about his health, he did so with grace. He did not seek pity. He did not dramatize. He simply acknowledged the challenge and expressed gratitude, especially to Annie. In interviews, his voice would soften when he mentioned her, the woman who had kept him going, the woman who had cried, fought, and loved him through his darkest nights. Fans were moved, not just by his honesty, but by the glimpse of a love story that had always existed quietly behind the curtain. Because while Ben Shephard may be the man on screen, it is Annie who has been the unseen star all along. Today, Ben and Annie's marriage is stronger than ever, not because it has been free of struggle, but because it has endured it. For their children, they are an example of resilience. For their friends, a symbol of loyalty. And for fans, a reminder that even the brightest stars have shadows. The lesson is simple but profound. Behind every smile on television, behind every laugh we hear in the mornings, there is a human story. And behind every strong man, there is often an even stronger partner. Ben Shephard's story is not of scandal or downfall. It is one of love, vulnerability, and survival. It is about a man adored by millions, brought to his knees by health struggles, and a woman, unseen and unheard, who lifted him back up. Annie's tears may have been born of fear, but they became the foundation of strength. And together, Ben and Annie Shephard remind us all that true love is not measured in red carpets or magazine covers. It is measured in the quiet nights, the whispered reassurances, the hands held in hospital rooms.
So the next time you see Ben Shephard smiling on screen, remember the story behind that smile. A story of pain, of hope, and of a love that never gave up.